we're going to talk a little bit of what's going on, and we're kind of going to demonstrate. I've shortened this up a lot because we've all been through the history of what has happened since 1985 on values. So let's get right to it. What the hell just happened? 2010 is here finally, and we're moving forward in a very, very solid, positive environment. Let's talk about what happened last year and kind of look at what all the values happened in the Northwest, the inland Northwest. What's interesting is if you take a look at the Cascade Mountain Range and put it right through here, and you can see some pretty severe spikes. Portland had 2 consecutive years of reduction. I mean, their average sales price now is down to $250,000 from a peak of about just under $300,000. Boise, their peak was around $235,000. Right now, their average sales price or median sales price about $160,000. $235,000 to $160,000. Seattle, $470,000. Now they're around $380,000. $470,000 to $380,000. And remember, it doesn't mean every house has dropped in value that much. It just means the buyers are buying less expensive houses. It's a reset. Everyone's buying lesser priced houses. Tri-Cities, wow, look at that. I guess that's what happens when you inject $1.5 billion worth of federal stimulus funds into their tearing down Hanford and also the vitrification, making radioactive material into glass plant. So they're doing actually fairly well. Actually, they're increasing. They're coming back. Missoula, pretty stable, not a big reduction. Spokane, same thing. We really, what a 7% reduction in average or median sales price, which again just means everyone's buying lesser priced homes. Let me demonstrate a couple things. This really illustrates what's going on. From '98 to about 2002, we would, in a multiple listing service, sell between 700 and 850 new homes a year. There was a point where we went up to about 1,500 homes in 1 year that were brand new. Last year in 2009, it was about 550, 520 homes is all that transferred. You got to remember the first 3 months of last year, no one bought anything. So it's almost like all of our statistics are based on 9 months of operation. So that those 3 months, that first quarter, really drug it down. Here's another thing. This is the average sales price of the new homes that sold that particular year. So back in the late 90s, we're clunking along building houses between 160 and 170,000, all the way up until about 2003. Then there was a big jump, went from 170 to 210, and there was inflation, there was demand, there was a number of things, the people wanting bigger houses, these people coming out of California or other regions that wanted to buy these larger houses that sold a small house somewhere else. And that drove the builders started building more expensive housing. Well, in 2009, last year, the median sales price was the average sales price for the whole year was about $265, down from about almost $300 from 2 years prior. But guess what? This $265, the first of the year in January, the average sales price was $315. That was January of 2009. All new construction was $315. And the next month it was like $290. And the next month it was $285. And it kept on. Right now, the average sales price as of December of 2009 was $215,000. So what we're seeing, this number is going to continue dropping. I got to throw these side notes in so you understand kind of what's going on. One of the larger builders in 2008, 2009 was Diamond Rock. He did about 120 units in Spokane County. His specialty was 200 to 230, that price point. He was in the Valley. He was in Northside off of Hatch Road. And he has quit building houses. He said, you know what, I can't make a profit on a house under $200,000. I don't know what these guys are doing. I'm just going to go out and build a bunch of duplexes and apartment buildings. That's what I'm doing. I'm done. So certain builders are dropping out because they just do not want to burn their land and compete. So there is a Jesse's Bluff that is predominantly 300 to 350,000. I just saw a flyer that came out. It was 200, or it was 180 to 200 is their new price point. Yeah, so everybody's sliding down.
Oh, that's copper base.
Everyone is sliding down to get in that lower price point. So you basically have 3 or 4 builders that are right now in business building, you know, the Viking, the Victory, the Hayden, Greenstone's dropping down, and there's going to be a point where those values start competing and burning up. And this is what's going to happen over a period of a year. Maybe someone says, "Hey, I'll burn through that subdivision. I only have 15 lots left. I'll be done in a year." Well, then what are they going to do? We had an appraisal done on some land, and what we noticed was the appraiser went back 2 years. He could not find any comps on any large bulk sales of lots. The average cost of lots basically was held high. We have not had any developers go under, and so the land, there's a few that have gone under in these small pockets, but essentially the larger developers in Spokane have not had to lower their prices or have not discounted their prices deep enough to cause a disruption in the values. That's a testament to how solid the development community is in Spokane. But still, we saw the average sales price of a lot that was just platted. That means you take a piece of land and you get government approval. It takes about a year, and you're platted and you're vested for 5 years to develop it into whatever. Is still at between 14 and 18,000 per lot. So if it's a 100-lot subdivision, the value of it is between 1.4 million or to 1.8 million, and that has not changed. What's going to happen this next year, I believe, is as the new construction, these lower-end housing continues to be built, it will burn off the existing land, and then there will be a point where these guys finish up and go, okay, now where do I go? And there's a bunch of developers sitting around going, well, I got an idea, but this is the cost of the land. And that then starts the rise of the housing, because your land value is the basis for all pricing for new construction. Okay? Little side note. Building permits, multifamily and single families combined in this line, and you can see where we permitted about 1,000 units in 2009. The last time it was about that was in 1988. I know, it's crazy, but in 1988 we had about 20% less households, 20% less population. So when you restrict supply to this degree, it's huge. Remember, right now we've got about 185,000 households in Spokane County, from where this statistic is pulled from. 185,000 households. There's about 1% population growth from that time to this time, and that's 21 years. So that's where I came up with my value of around 20%. That number isn't just pulled out of the hat. If anything, it's even greater than 20% more population since back then. So we're seeing some retraction of supply, which is going to probably cause some issues, and I'm going to demonstrate that a little bit more here in a second. This is single-family production. We have not seen that much or that low of single-family production since 1988 again. Again, in 1988, it was kind of the beginning of, in 1988 was the swing year, by the way, in Spokane. In 1989, we saw some things starting to happen, and then it just went up from there. And I'm not saying that's going to happen right now. I think it's going to be a little flatter, but the bottom line is when you restrict that much supply, it does affect the attitude of the consumer.